This is In Touch with Terri, a power-packed podcast for the medical aesthetics industry.
I just discovered your podcast, and I feel like I've hit a gold mine.
This is someone who's got a lot of knowledge. She's been there, done that.
Terri Ross is a former Fortune 500 executive, international speaker, and Terri Ross Consulting.
Just listening to her energy and her passion and just how hardcore she is.
Her knowledge of the industry and just her connections in general are phenomenal.
In Touch with Terri will bring you solutions to increase operational and employee efficiency and practice profitability. Plus, feature some of the top industry experts as guests.
Terri, your courses and your podcast are just so helpful.
She made me feel like I could do this.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Now, here's Terri.
Hello, tribe. How are you? God, I feel like it's been a minute since we have been together, but I'm back and in the saddle. I've gotten a lot of requests for this one specifically. And so the purpose of this podcast today is to talk about the top mistakes aesthetic practice owners and providers make. And the questions that I was getting was really around the business side of aesthetics, which is really what I do at Terri Ross Consulting, and what I have focused my life's work on is really helping you guys understand and navigate through sort of a crowded space with a lot of noise. So again, the purpose of this podcast is the top mistakes aesthetic practice providers and owners can make. It's going to be juicy. I took a lot of time. I've interviewed a lot of people, and then I've done a lot of research in terms of the work that myself and my team has done. And so let's just dive right in. Number one, I think that it's very easy to try to do everything on your own. And I get it. I'm that person too. I feel like I'm capable, I'm diligent, I'm a driver, that I can do it. But candidly, I don't know if that's always the right decision. It's easier. There are coaches for a reason. There are people that are subject matter experts for a reason. And if we look in our lives and how we've excelled, whether it's mentorship or, again, clinical training and a fellowship or whatever it is, we go to seek outside knowledge. And what is that going to do is help you save time and money. So Gay Hendricks wrote a book, and he identified 4 different zones of function in the book, which is the big leap. And the zone 1 is zone of incompetence. And in this zone, you are just engaging in something that you inherently don't understand, you're not skilled at doing. And number 2 is the zone of competence. And so in this zone, you actually do know what you're doing and you're efficient at it, but you recognize that many people are likewise efficient, but they're not thriving in the capabilities in such a significant way. Then the zone of excellence, number 3. And in this particular zone, you are doing something that you are tremendously skilled at. And often the zone of excellence is cultivated and it's practiced over a period of time. And I know we all can relate to that if you are a provider or in a specialty in your career. And then 4th, and this is kind of what I say, is your zone of genius. I love this, your zone of genius. And in this zone, you capitalize on your natural abilities, which are innate rather than learned. And this is the state in which you get into your flow and you find like inspiration. And you seem to not only come up with the work that is distinguished and unique, but also that you do it in a way that excels far beyond what anybody else can do or is capable of doing. And I love this. And, I always often say, I've spent about 20 years in aesthetic medicine now. I've worn many hats, which I really do pride myself on that. I spent a lot of time in Fortune 500. I've led sales teams. I have owned a medical spa myself with surgeons and a dermatologist. I've started a SaaS platform. I've written training courses. I've consulted for 12 years. God, I sound like I'm freaking 100 years old. But, my zone of genius is really working with businesses to help them grow, scale, and sell, and then sales training. And so I see so many physicians, doctors, surgeons, providers, owners, and this business isn't that easy, but they think they can do it on their own, or they try to micromanage every aspect of the business. And while it might work temporarily when you first start out, you will find that it's just not sustainable, especially when you enter the growth and you're in that growth and scalability phase of your practice. So, to hire a team of experts who are in their zone of excellence or genius, such as a practice manager, your support staff, your additional clinical team, marketing professionals, tax, legal, consultants like myself, bookkeepers, etc., then it allows you to build a team, a robust team around you that is experts in their craft, which allows you to be an excellence in your craft and do what you're good at. And the delegation and the leadership and the team approach, it just feels so good. It becomes financial freedom. And ultimately, I promise you, it will save you time and money. So, time is our only non-renewable resource, right? We only have 24 hours in a day. So no matter who you are and what you do, so how do we maximize the time? That was a long-winded dissertation about number one, which is trying to do it on your own, but I thought really, really important. And, clap at me, DM me. I really want to get your feedback on this in terms of where you guys think that you're at. And number two, busy does not mean that it equals profits. And there's a big difference between being busy and being profitable. And I say that all the time. So when it comes to hiring others to help you, seeing an action plan of what they're going to be doing to not nearly just be there to do work, but how are we holding people accountable? What are the measurable actions and results that we want? And when we're looking at our data and our KPIs, data doesn't lie. It's unemotional, it's factual. It is your compass. It is your navigation system. So we have to know what the industry benchmarks are, and then we have to track certain KPIs so that you can make an informed decision. Are you in alignment with your goals? So again, number one, trying to do it on your own. Number two, again, people could be busy, but busy doesn't mean being profitable. So what data and KPIs and benchmarks are we tracking and are we aware of? Three is inconsistency. Consistency is key. Whether it's marketing, an email, newsletter, a blog, social media posts, your pay-per-click, your advertising, your training, multiple locations, your services, you have to be diligent and consistent with your efforts and give it time. So, for example, when it comes to newsletters or blogs, I always call it reach and frequency. It's about less people, more nurturing, more retention, but is your consistency key? Quality information on a consistent basis is going to help you, and this is just one example, position you in the market as a trusted resource and in your client's eyes. And so we can't have a mishmash post and then something different on your website, and then a blog goes out and it doesn't really match what you're doing that month. So there's a strategy behind all of this. So three is inconsistency. And remember, you guys, we are talking about the top mistakes that people make. And I will recap these at the end. So three was inconsistency. And then four is no tracking or systems in place. We spend money on marketing, on advertising, on our decor, on software, on new equipment. But did we really, really ask ourselves, one, how much money should you be spending in marketing based on your total revenue? Two, what is the amount of leads you have coming in? Three, what is your conversion ratio? And number four is no tracking or systems in place. And this is fascinating that we are out there sometimes making decisions blindly. So we spend money in our beautiful location, in our team. We spend money on marketing, advertising, our systems, our software, our services, new equipment, our team. But how are we making those decisions, you guys? Again, are we inspecting what we expect? Can you afford to buy that new piece of equipment or to hire a new team member? How are you going to compensate them? And when we think about tracking and systems, again, we talked about data, it's your compass and it's going to allow you to make those informed decisions. But a lot of practices I work with, you guys, they don't have a lot of systems in place. And so what I mean by that is if you go to do a marketing campaign, one, how much are you spending on marketing? Do you know how much your marketing should be compared to your total revenue? And then when you're looking at marketing spend, are you tracking how many leads are coming in? What percent was being converted? Why or why not? How many phone calls were coming in? How many were converted? I could go on and on in terms of tracking the metrics, but if we don't have the systems and we're not looking at the data, then how do we know? How do we know how to compensate that's aligned with goals? How do we know if I can afford to buy that piece of equipment? How do you know how to charge if we're lacking understanding what the gross profit should be? So I hope you guys are like, oh shit, that's me. I'm going to call Terri right now. But again, a lot of practices I work with, they don't even have call tracking on the phones. And so when we think about our team, we might think that they're amazing, and maybe they are. And I hope that they are. But if we're not listening to phone calls, you could be losing hundreds of thousands of dollars because we're not listening, which comes down to a training issue. So we have to take a look at, and we have to just sort of sit back and say, shit, I get it. It's a lot of money. It's an investment. But with an investment, there's always a return, right? It's not an expense. And so if you're going to play in the space, we have to play big, we have to play hard, we have to play bold, and make sure that, again, we have enough cash reserves to be able to do and invest in all of these things. 5 would be the shiny new object. I mean, I know I've seen all of you around. It was so great seeing many of you at all these society conferences. And it's easy to get sucked up into the shiny new toy, again, the new equipment, the new laser, the new procedure, the new software or CRM or whatever it is. But if you're looking at now the data, if you have goals, you have a forecast, you have a budget, you know your mission, your vision, your why, your ideal client, you're not going to get sucked into stuff and then feel that this was the right decision. Because was it? I'm going to strongly recommend that before you get roped into anything, the next big thing, you have to ask yourself, does it financially make sense? Is my team committed? Do I have a rollout plan? What is this marketing campaign? Is everybody aware about it? What do I expect from it? Whatever it is, there's got to be a plan behind it. And when you know those things, again, it will allow you to navigate if you're going to make that decision and not get sort of sucked up into that shiny thing. 6 is the price matching. Oh my God, you guys, I know I am bold when it comes to you get what you pay for. Your time is valuable. You are valuable and you have earned the right to charge a fee. And for plastic surgeons, I know this isn't a problem. For med spas, I know many of you think I'm not going to charge and my competitors don't charge or people won't come in. I promise you, you guys, I teach this often. I say it often that people will spend 30% more for what they perceive as value. You know, when we're trying to compete with the Joneses down the street, you're not living up to your best self. And so be the client that you want. Aesthetic patients, they're very educated as a whole. What do you want to be known for? Someone who's highly skilled, who's performed thousands of procedures with amazing results, with this incredible pedigree, or the bargain practice where people are price shopping? Because that only lends to a lack of retention and a lack of loyalty, because it becomes a commodity based on price versus who you are. So you have to be able to stand out in the crowd, credential yourself. Again, know your unique value proposition and what is your worth? What differentiates you from everybody else? And can your team stand up and say that with confidence and conviction? When you're able to do that, you guys, it feels so powerful. And the one key question, I always teach if somebody wants to ask you to price match is, again, what's most important for you when you choose an aesthetic practice? And I'm going to fill in the blank. I'm going to give away the gold, right? Is it price, safety, or results? And I promise you too, I've studied this for many years. I wrote this course when I had the medical spots. I wasn't willing to sacrifice what was happening, but you're going to trip people up because if somebody responds with the price answer, bye, Felicia. We're not in the price discounting business. This is medicine. In no other specialty are people negotiating deals and a discount and price shopping. We're not doing that. So know your worth because you have earned it and you're worth it and people will pay for it. Number 7. The 7th mistake is that they lack training their team. So if you think about the roles within the organization, right, you have your providers, your owners, your practice managers, your NPs, your PAs, your RNs, your estheticians, your MAs, your PCC, your surgical team, and everybody is tied to a KPI. But what do you expect? How do you hire them? How do you train them? How do you retain them? How do you have a loyal team? And that goes around your business vision and mission and philosophies and pillars of what you stand for. And the training is such a huge component, you guys. We all say this often, your team is your greatest asset, but your biggest expense. And so I am going to rattle it down. The purpose of this was to give you guys an insight into not the negatives per se, but sort of the top mistakes that people have come to me for asking questions, or that they've made some mistakes in these areas and they want out or they want help. And it's maybe sometimes a little too late. But there's always room to move when people are invested to say, shit, I really don't know. I struggle with my data. I struggle with training. I struggle with sales. I wish we had more patients and more conversions. And so I'm humbled at the opportunity to be here with you and to have you guys tuning in to listen to me. And I want you to sit with this, that these mistakes are all things that can be overcome. And so I'm going to repeat them back. And I want you to please reach out to me and be like, God, shit, Terri hit the nail on the head. Like, that is me. I have tried to do it on my own. That was number one. I don't have any systems in place. I do sometimes get sucked up into the shiny new thing. I am super busy, but yet I'm wondering where all my money goes and I don't have enough money in the bank, or I thought I had more. There is inconsistencies. It's a little bit of a mishmash. And the training of my team, it's not where it should be. I think they're great, but I'm not really measuring the data. So in this podcast, this was very humbling and impactful for me to share this with you too, because these are the things that we correct. This is the things that kind of move my soul in a way, not like I'm a fixer, but there's just too much opportunity with a lack of education. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the 4S Summit, which is our sales and business mastery. It's coming up May 16th through 19th in Dallas. And then the next one's going to be in December. And I bring it up because myself, Dr. Renato Saltz, a world-renowned plastic surgeon and key opinion leader, and Isaac Muesli, my very dear friend. He was my co in Apex, which that company merged. And so I'm doing back to my old roots. What I love to do is my consulting and my training. But we started the 4S Summit because you asked for it. You guys wanted it. We heard you. We listened loud and clear. And it really is the first true down and dirty 2.5-day business boot camp all around the business of aesthetics. Think of it like your MBA. And we did it because there's just so many people that have reached out to us seeking help. We wanted to reach a bigger audience. If you're interested to learn more about the 4S Summit, it's coming up in a couple of weeks. You can visit 4ssummit.com. And if you found this valuable and you're like, oh shit, over this glass of wine, maybe you drank the bottle. I don't know. You're like, crap, that's me. I would love nothing more than to hear from you, stay in touch with you, and hear about where your struggle's at so that I can fully fundamentally support you. So I'd love y'all so much. And I would love if you found this valuable, if you could share it with your team, colleagues, peers, and more importantly, your feedback moves my soul and always helps me to be better. You guys could leave me a testimonial or some words of wisdom. That would be great. And keep the feedback coming. All right, guys, I'm going to drop the mic. Can't wait to see you on another episode of In Touch with Terri. Ciao.
Thanks for listening to In Touch with Terri. For more information regarding the 4S Summit to unveil key strategies, systems, sales, and skills to elevate your aesthetic practice to new heights, visit 4ssummit.com or click the link in the episode notes.